Good morning, good evening, all. I'm Jay Marie, and this is That Part Podcast, and I am your host. Today, I've got with me the lovely Miss Pam Mitchell and her husband, Peter Mitchell, and they are collectively the duo that has done this movie that I want to definitely talk about, but we're going to get their background and a whole slew of information on them. But we're going to talk about their journey through filmmaking, and they have a movie that's out on Tubi, Peacock, I want to say various platforms that is called Urge, and we'll get into that movie. So we'll go ahead and introduce Miss Pam Mitchell first. Go ahead and introduce yourself, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, and it is Pam McNeil. And so the last name is McNeil, and I am Peter's wife. And our company is called A Brighter Path Productions. And within the company, I am the COO. I am also an editor, so I've edited books, and I also edited the movie Urge. And so my writing began in high school. I love to write, love to tell stories, majored in English, and just thankful for the opportunity that my husband provided by writing a script and writing a story, because I was using my degree toward teaching. So I'm very excited to be on this path of writing and editing and filmmaking.
Thank you for that. And I apologize. Did I mispronounce your last name?
Yes, it's McNeil, not Mitchell.
Oh, my. That's and I have it right in front of me. I apologize. Okay. Pam McNeil, thank you for that. Peter, we'll go ahead and get your introduction as well. And then we'll talk about you all's the story, the urge, and how that came about and all that. Go
All
ahead.
right. Good afternoon, Jay Marie. Thank you for this platform. My name is Peter McNeil. I'm the CEO of A Brighter Path Productions. Born in Brooklyn, New York. Spike Lee was my inspiration towards filmmaking, and through that journey, I became a self-published author um, and a writer, director, filmmaker. Yes, all that, and that's pretty much my journey into becoming a filmmaker. So I'm self-taught. It took me a lot of years to hone my craft and skills, and it led up to where we're at now. So I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for my wife being a part of this journey with me, and it's just been a beautiful ride thus far. So thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. And again, Pam, I apologize. I'm looking right at the name. I feel so ugh. I don't know if it's my nerves or if it's me just being overexcited about this whole thing because this movie,
It's
when I
okay.
saw this movie, okay, thank you. When I saw this movie, um, it made me really kind of look at it like, wow, I've never seen a movie that touched on this subject matter in a tasteful way. Let me say it like that because we all know there's movies that touch on this in ways where it's glorified and things like that. And so people kind of make a joke about it as it rather than it being something that you need to get past, you need to get over, and it's a problem in your marriage or your relationship. So when you all talk about the movie and you were the editor of the movie, talk about that journey. I want to hear that, the journey of you learning about your husband, I guess, writing the movie, or let's just talk about that journey. How did you find out about this? Was it a situation that was written about that you didn't know about initially? It was a surprise to you, or how that came about?
That was a great question. Well, when we first met, he did disclose in the like it shows in the movie that he did like some adult entertainment, and I was okay with it because I was like, as long as it is normal male female relationships, I'd rather him watch that and cheat on me. But at the same time, as we went further into our marriage, got further into our marriage, I didn't understand that become an addiction, or maybe it was an addiction when we first met and I didn't know it, because he really disclosed. I mean, he really was able to conceal a lot of it from me. And Joe Marie, to be honest, it wasn't until I read the script that I knew how serious his addiction was. I was like, my mouth was hanging open when he said, I gotta write this story to purge myself of, this thing. That's when I realized how serious it was. I mean, there were some things that, took place within the relationship where I would wake up in the middle of the night and see the TV on, and I was just like, that's a little strange. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Why is he watching TV, or whatever? But I again wasn't totally aware of how bad it had gotten until I read his script. Yeah.
Wow.
So yep.
That's gotta be okay. Now, Peter, we're gonna put
Yes.
you in the hot seat because
I
now
say it. Hey, go ahead.
because my whole thing was like, wait a minute, his wife edited it. Like, how did that? How did that? How were you okay? Okay, I don't want to sound rude or disrespectful, but how were you okay with letting your wife know, because this is in your marriage now, and now she's the editor of a movie that you decided to write. So did you yourself, I'm gonna switch you to the main screen, but did you yourself feel like you needed to get counseling or therapy or anything like that? Or was this the movie of itself a purge and a therapy for you?
Can I start at the beginning? Okay.
Yes.
I want to start at the beginning. Like Pam said, when we started courting, okay, we met at a club. I knew she was going to be my wife. And probably a month within our relationship, I don't know what made me, I guess God told me to tell her that, I watch adult entertainment, porn, every now and again. I had to let her know for some reason. And just like she said, she was like, all right, cool. As long as you're not running the streets, I'm good. And I was like, she good? Oh my God, she gave me a license. But let me tell you something, Jane Marie. When I met my queen, now prior to meeting her, I was heavily into the addiction. Now I was in denial. I didn't know I was in an addiction. I just knew I watched a lot of it because at that point, I didn't want to deal with any female. I was in some situations early in the 90s that kind of led me to, you know what, I'm just gonna be by myself, and I'm just gonna, watch porn just to, alleviate my frustrations and all that stuff. Now I meet Pam. We have a great relationship at the beginning. I told her, but at that time I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped. Okay, because we just been heavily into each other, and it's like I didn't need it at the time. Okay. Um, Fast forward, we got married, we had our children, we had our 3 beautiful children. We moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. All right. We wanted a better quality of life. So we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. We got our first house. This is when I was working on Postal as a screenplay. All right.
Okay.
That's my first project. And we got a computer in our home. This is the early 2000s, 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Got a
Okay.
computer in my home, working on Postal. All right, late hours. Okay, you got to fit in the writing whenever you can. Everybody was in asleep, and I had time for myself. So when you go on, when I'm editing or doing this to Postal, okay, I need a break. So I'm surfing the computer. All right, and then you start seeing stuff, and I'm like, oh, I could watch this for free, and that's when it just came full blown again. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
full blast to the point that throughout them dark years in the 2000s, from 2004 to 2008, I was heavily in it. But I tell you one thing, in that midst of that storm, something, I guess God told me, you got to write about this. So while I was editing Postal, I was outlining, it wasn't called Urge at the time. It was another title. So fast forward to 2008, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay, I was sick and tired of her leaving our house, the kids going to school. I couldn't wait for her to leave so I could do my little due ditty. That was years and years of that, and I was sick and tired of all that. So I had to make a change. I asked myself, how is this benefiting me? How is this serving our marriage? Okay, and all I was doing was serving myself. All right, yeah, I was quote unquote to be a good daddy in other people's eyes, but no, I was putting too much energy in that arena. And I made a conscious decision in 2008 to let it go. And it took a while. It wasn't cold turkey, but over the course of the years, it just gradually left. It just gradually, to the point that I think around 2014 or 15, it was over with. It was done. I was over it. So we go to 2000. I don't want to kind of jump ahead, but I'm just gonna say this right quick. When we was when I knew we was going to film Urge, and I wrote out the script, and I knew how I was going to open this up and how it was going to be. And when I presented it to my wife to edit, and she read it, she was like, "Whoa!" And we had to put that script aside, and we had a long, because she didn't know how the depth of this addiction was. All right, until she read that script. And we just had a real long conversation, because she was like, "Now, do we put this out? Do we actually film it the way it is? Because that could be embarrassing to some people. Okay,
Very.
it could
I
be
can
very
definitely
embarrassing as my spouse." But she knew how much this meant to me. Okay, so I got the green light from her, and we went about getting the film made.
Okay. So I guess my question would be like, when you talk about getting into that and that being your escape, can
Mhm.
you talk about, or do you feel comfortable talking about what made that be your escape? Like, were you going through a lot of traumatic things in life when this originally started, before you met Pam and all that, and then this was your escape for that?
I dealt with a lot of insecurities growing up. Okay,
Okay.
my mother, she gave me up for adoption at the age of
Mm,
6. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, born in Coney Island Hospital. All right, and she said she was unable to raise me. Okay, and I could see the conditions in our home at that time. It was poverty. We were living poor, and I just understood right then and there. And I went across town to East New York, part of Brooklyn, and I was under the foster care of this lady named Edna Anderson. She had her own home. It was nice and beautiful, well kept. And that's when I met my brother, who was also coming from another family. So we both was being fostered by this lady. So at that point, that's when wow, I could say the seeds of insecurity start. Okay, because
okay.
my mom's, done gave me away. I didn't know who I was. Automatically, I withdrew. Okay, and TV became my best friend. So that's how the film, becoming a filmmaker, kind of start back then. Watching what's it called, The Twilight Zone,
Hmm.
um, Cooley High, all that stuff. I was fascinated by it. That became my best friend. I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to have a voice. Who am I gonna talk to? I don't know anybody. This lady who was fostering us, she could be my great grandfather, because that's how old she was.
Hmm.
So the insecurities started then. Growing up, trying to be a people person, trying to please people. Kind of what you call it, a recluse. And just over the course, it ran into my teenage years, when we finally got adopted by the McNeils, and it stayed with me. I really had a complex to myself, even in high school, in the army. All right. And during them teenage years, your mind wanders. A lot of people at that time watch, going to Playboy magazines, players,
Exactly. A
hustlers,
lot of
all
times
that.
that's how you figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
everybody,
or
a lot of
her up.
teenagers, boys and girls, you know what I'm saying? But for some reason, it just kind of became something that I had to overcome. I'm not into alcohol like that. I don't smoke. I don't do this or do that. But I was very insecure. So that slowly became my source of security, false security. you know, and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was going to become an addiction, but man, it really, especially when it came spilled over into my family, my marriage, okay, and us raising the kids. That computer came in our house, and it I didn't have those. If anything, those were the traumatic experiences. You know, being adopted and just trying to find my identity.
Okay. Now, Pam, I want to get your upbringing just to kind of, let's see, just to talk about it from the point of how your upbringing cha- not challenged the movie, but what made it different for you to read about this and to understand your husband's upbringing and where he come from to that point. Did it was it understandable? So the movie made sense that it was a, I don't want to say a manifestation, but sort of like a regurgitation of what he'd gone through. Like, did it help you understand it more and even the story?
Let me start from my background a little bit. I had come from the South, as you can hear my deep Southern
Hmm.
accent, and I had grown
Definitely.
up with two doting parents, who were young and gave pretty much. I was a strong-headed, strong-willed child, and it gotten a lot of attention and a lot of love and a lot of support and a lot of confidence. And so, Peter, for me, I admired his strength, having gone what he had gone through, because I was from the South with a huge village. Everybody was on the same area of land from the great grandparents down. They all gave their daughters and sons a piece of land. So I had all that support. So when I met him and he was as strong as he was without, like he said, having had his mother say to him as a 6-year-old, I can't take care of you anymore. I developed this real profound respect for him because I couldn't imagine my parent giving me away. I was this child who had lived totally different, had run to pretty much run the households of my dad and mom. They weren't together. So I just had a respect for him. So when it was the porn addiction, I haven't studied psychology, but at one point I started wondering, if it was somewhat of a way that he was acting out, or just
Hmm.
how kids will hold things in or internalize their pain. So although he has the most beautiful heart, he wasn't going to physically abuse a person, but he some kind of way he was enjoying seeing women sodomized or being dominated. Like I knew that some kind of way this had to impact him, what he gone through. So I actually understood it. I was as a wife, it made me feel insecure at some point because I was a person who had never felt insecure. And I started to question if, maybe he's just that type that wants a, orgy or just all of this fantasy stuff. And, so I'm wondering if he was pleased in the marriage. But what I recently learned is that, and I had to be okay with it, that when they're the people that are into porn the way they are, they get bored, I guess, easier when we're just doing the standard love making, because they have seen all the fantasy and they love the fantasy. So that's where he's getting all his fantasies. But again, we work through it, and I love him no matter what. But I just, like I said, I just always wondered, because I like psychology, why was it that? Is it because
Yeah.
the mom gave him up? Is he in a position where it's something where he likes seeing women in subservient position? Like, I just didn't know. But yeah, so, and he had to get it through fantasy with that. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a beautiful person and he's not going to abuse or dog a person out. So I don't know, but I hope that sort of answered your question. I wasn't sure.
Ooh, a lot of Peter's background is kind of mine. I'm trying to not get
Hmm.
super caught up. So because I'm like, whoa, okay, okay. So when we're talking about the story and the fact that in that story there's a, because I know when you speak, Peter, when you speak about the Twilight, and I see that there is more of like a I would say superficial, not superficial, supernatural sort of vibe to it. Is that because it's hard to talk about those kind of subjects without it being like um I don't want to say blacklisted, but kind of like with Hollywood or with movie making, if you get too real with it, then they're like, whoa, we don't want to present that kind of tone to a movie. We want to give it sort of a fantasy so that you add that element of the supernatural with the guy and the alchemy, the the better version of yourself and things like that. Like, is that why you added that? Because it couldn't really be just overt, like we're telling you porn is nasty and we're telling you that, because there's people who think that that's a safe route. That's a better way than cheating, than doing all these different things. And you're not hurting anybody by doing this, but in your relationship, you were. So, how do you tell that story? Or do you feel like you had to put the element of supernatural in that story for it to be, you know, taken?
Oh Lord. Yeah, I think you asked like three questions in that question.
I know, I'm
And
sorry. I'm
no,
trying to.
oh no. Well, let me tell you something. I want to go back to what Pam was saying. Okay, when I would watch porn heavily and all that, I try to compartmentalize that so it won't interfere when we would have, our love making. I made a
Uh huh.
conscious decision. Okay. Yeah, you took, of course, it's going to subconsciously, you're going to pick little parts where we could do this and that. But I said, I'm going to make sure I please my wife, at the same time. This is my thinking back then while I'm, pleasuring myself on my own downtime. But it got to a point, it was exhausting. She didn't know how. I remember when we went to church and she got up and I don't know if it was Men's Day or whatever, and she was just putting me on this pedestal, and I felt so low.
Mm,
That was during my dark time. Can't wait to go home after church. And but I said, you know what? This is damaging somebody. It's damaging me because she doesn't really feel the effects of it. Because I really tried my best to hide this as much as possible, even though she would like, why is he still up 2 a.m? Why is he doing, blah blah blah. I tried my best to kind of put, not have her catch me doing this, even though I knew she had a clue, of what I was doing, but I was hurting myself big time. In effect, it was stemming, it was gradually affecting our marriage on my side because I wasn't giving her or the family my best version of myself
okay.
at all. Okay. And I was wondering why I wasn't getting blessed. Okay. I'm stuck on dead end jobs that I hate. I got this career gift of writing, but it's stagnating because I'm, too busy over here. I had the devil, I'm saying, on my lower self getting the, grabbing me because, the devil, when you try to make better yourself in life, all right, you want to do okay. I got this path of writing. I got my wife. I got beautiful kids. The lower self, the devil don't want you to be happy. You want to pull you down. Want to create some havoc or chaos in that unit. And he did for a while. And I was letting him get that. And I got to a point. I said, and the thing about it is, Marie, it was at a point. It was on autopilot. The devil didn't have to do anything. But when I said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm cutting this off, and I'm allowing, I'm listening to God, going back to the sci-fi you was talking about in the movie. That was my higher version, God talking to me, okay, about
Okay.
what am I doing, okay, in a human form, talking to me, okay, you got to let this go. How is this serving you? All right. And I had long talks with my own self therapy. I never went to therapy. My own therapy was me writing it out. Okay, writing it out. What was the pluses of this? What was the minuses of this? Okay, the minus was long. The minus list was long. There was no plus. There was nothing that was positive about what I was doing. Okay, and I made a conscious decision again. Um, Take Six is one of my favorite musical groups. I don't know if you heard of Take Six, the gospel group. Okay,
Oh, the gospel group? No, I thought
Take
you were
Six.
talking take
Take
seven
Six.
or after seven. I'm
After
sorry.
seven, no. Take Six. Okay, they are
Sorry.
gospel sextet. Okay,
Okay.
um, Emmy Awards. They one of my favorite groups. One of the members. I was watching YouTube, and I love going to watch them. I like to watch Take Six in their interviews, talk about their journey. But this particular YouTube clip it speaks about one member who overcame porn, and I was listening to it. And that was the turning point in my life. 2008. I said, you know what? I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. And that's when God said, okay, I'm ready to step in because you allow me to come in now. And we're gonna work this thing out. Okay, because I got more in store for you. All right. I have more in store for you.
Okay. So when you say that, when we talk about some relationships incorporate that. Let me just say it that way. Some relationships are wild.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Without going into all of the other factors and things like that. Some relationships incorporate that. Some marriages, boyfriend and girlfriends, poly relationships, whatever you want to say, they incorporate all of those sort of spectrums of porn
Mm-hmm.
into their relationship. What do you say to a couple that's doing that to spice things up and things like that? And Pam, I'm gonna get your opinion on that as well too. So um, I'll switch for Pam and then I'll come back to you, Peter.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I definitely, know that a lot of couples do it, and it could be okay for us as well. I mean, and I've been in past relationships where we brought porn in or whatever, but God deals with each person individually, and I feel
Mhm.
like God couldn't use Peter in that space because he was always operating in his, like he said, that lower self, and he was not serving God, he was serving himself. If you're spending 2 and 3 and 4 hours surfing the net for porn sites, when think of all the other things you could be doing, building up your children, building up somebody else's children, mentoring or anything. It had, just like he said, had gotten out of hand, and God is not going to intermingle with anything that's unholy. And so if that, in his situation, it was lust, he's lusting after these women, and where he got tired, I guess, of seeing one, and he go find the other. Even though it's virtual, you're lusting after these women, and God could not deal with him in that space. And let me tell you this, J. Marie, as soon as Peter obeyed God and start working toward moving toward writing and letting that go, God blessed him in such a way that you would be blown away. And so I'm not going to tell the whole story, but as soon as Urge started playing on a platform, which our first platform was Amazon Prime, we were so excited. Peter got a call to do a documentary in Cuba
Wow.
that is a global project. Like, God just set that thing up. You know how when they said he can put you in places you didn't even ask to be in?
Yeah.
We have been to the Cuban embassy. We've met 3 ambassadors out of this country. Like, God just has shown out on our behalf. So I just wanted you to know that he's real, and once you stop dancing with the devil, he can deal with you.
I agree. I agree with that. I think there's there's something to be said about addiction overall with anything, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, whether it's social media, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different things. When you stop allowing so much of that to take your time up, you can be opened up for other blessings that God may have for you, or
Amen.
opportunities, or however you want to say,
Exactly.
depending on whether your religion is, Christianity or whatever it may be. But when you stop devoting so much time to the negative, to something that's not productive, I think there's a lot to be said about that. So, to get Peter's take on that, I wanted to get your take on the same, the same question posed to you in terms of what, oh my God, it just slipped my mind because I wrote questions down, but then I'm asking questions that aren't on the page. So now it's,
It's all good.
forgive me.
Was
Um,
it pertaining to
my
other
question posed to
couples?
you, yeah, when you
Other
include it,
couples?
do you feel like that is a good thing or a bad thing? And to Pam's point, I know she was saying it was not a good thing for you, but to get your take on it, what do you feel of that?
I'm gonna walk you into that. I'm gonna
Okay.
walk. I'm gonna walk you into that answer. All right. When I made a decision to, okay, once I got Postal done as a book, I started writing Urge as the next book, the follow up book. Okay, and we made a short film of Postal, and then we was about to make a mini series of Postal, starting in 2020. Now I'm still writing Urge as a book. Every now and then I will write. I think I was halfway done. The pandemic shut the whole world down in 2020. And then we realized, we didn't have the whole amount of money. First of all, and let me just backtrack. God just sent me an angel. My wife there, Pam. All right. When people are like, they ask us, how did you get money or funding to do this project, Urge? And some people say, well, did you do crowdfunding? We tried that. That didn't work. Did you go to other people? We did, but you only go get for so much. I said later
Mm-hmm.
for that. We ain't got time. I asked for my wife's blessing to let us refinance our home to get and use that money to fund this project. And she said yes. I mean, with no hesitation. When I tell you can I go even back further? Before I met
Okay.
her, when I went, no,
She
no,
said
no, no,
no, don't
no,
go back
no, no,
further.
no, no, no,
Oh, okay.
no. This is serious. This is
Okay.
okay. I
Okay.
don't even care about the hours of time. People need to hear this. Okay.
No, no problem. No problem.
Before I met her, I prayed for her. Okay. I said, you know what, God, I need me a lady just like me that has a good heart, that likes clean living. We have the same likes of life and all that. And then I blurted out that I wanted to be her to be a country lady. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, I go to the club and I meet this lady that checks off all those boxes. And I was like, wow. Okay. Fast forward to when I asked her about can we refinance the house, she said, sure. This lady has my back. Okay. And 2020, the pandemic shut down everything down. And I said, what are we going to do now? We don't got the money to do Postal the way we planned on. And our casting director said, well, why don't you do a feature film? And I kind of blew her off. I went to work because my job was still working. I thought about it. I came home. I asked Pam, I said, what do you think, Laquan the Plant, that was our casting director, what do you think what about what she said? Pam said, pray on it. The next morning, I said, you know what? We go do Urge. I finished Urge as a screenplay, not a book, as a screenplay. She read it. We had a conversation, and boom, we filmed it in 2021. And it was God ordained. Okay. We got the actors, we got the production, the film crew. And this is in the pandemic. We shot it
Mm-hmm.
in less than 11 days, something like that. And everything was perfect. Okay, we probably had one hiccup the first day, but other than that, it was flawless. That was intentional. That was God. Okay. When I asked some of my friends, when I told some of my friends, because a lot of people read Postal and they wanted to know what's the follow up. I said, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do Urge, and Urge is about a husband in denial of a porn addiction. That's what I'm going to do. When I told my close friends, they was like, whoa, that's my story. Hell, I can help you write this story. A lot of my close friends, I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I got their blessings. I got my wife's blessings. Okay. We filmed it. I mean, we got it done. We had our premiere here in Charlotte packed out days, and all the response we got from the audience, and quite a few people was like, yo, you told my story. You had told my story. Went to Atlanta, the same thing. Houston, I had a married couple told me I was about this wife told me, thank you for making this film, because I was about to leave my husband twice because of this story. Meanwhile, there was a gentleman waiting for me while I'm talking to this couple, waiting for me. I said, thank you. She kept thanking me. Both of them was thanking me. Now the guy was like, can you come out the building? I went outside the building. And he was like, how did you conquer that? Because I'm in the midst of it right now. I spent 20 minutes outside just talking to him. My wife and the cast didn't know where I was at. They came outside and saw us talking. I know what I made. You know what I'm saying? And it was already impacting folks. Okay. And it's just been such a blessing. Let's go back to Atlanta just to so I could end this response. It was this older guy. After he watched it, I went out to get a microphone. He met me in the hallway and was like, "Man, good movie, but I'm still in it, and I don't think I'm gonna ever let it go." You know what I'm saying? But good luck with your movie. There are people that may watch this movie and might shrug at it like, man, please, that ain't nothing. All right. And that's cool. And that's fine. But there are people out there that's so addicted and don't know how to let that go and need help. All right. And hopefully, they run across my movie and see how I overcame it. So
I think,
Go ahead, Pam.
yep. So like he's saying, yeah, it is fine for people that's not their vice. Yeah, to bring it
That's what
into
I was gonna
America and
say.
have fun.
mhm,
But some people cannot handle it, just like food or alcohol. Some
mhm.
people can drink sociably and it's totally fine. And so that's the point we want to make. We're not knocking anybody that brings
None
it into
whatsoever.
that relationship, because I love some of the things Peter learned from it, but it got out of control.
I understand. I'm trying not to be goofy. I'm trying to be professional and serious. But I was like, okay.
And let
But
me
no, to
go
your
ahead.
point though, with the vice, that's what I was gonna touch on, because anything in excess, right, can be a vice, whether
Mhm,
it's alcohol, food, social media,
mhm,
um, fight videos, or
mhm,
I don't want to say sports, but some people can be intense with whatever their addiction is. And when it's a vice, that's where you got to draw the line, and you got to recognize some people don't. Like, I have understood so many different people with alcohol. Like, I partake in smoking and drinking, occasionally weed, but in terms of it being like over, just I can't live
mhm,
or breathe without it. I'm not that type, and I thank God I'm not that type, because there are people who are, and I don't get it. But at the same time, I'm like, there are other things that could be a vice in our life these days. Social media,
mhm,
Jesus, nothing to that. But there's times where you're just like, you know what if social media didn't exist? What if, obviously the business side of it and things like that, when you're pushing a movie out, all those things matter. But people who get so affected by it that they eat, live, breathe, and sleep it, just the whole thing. It's like, you have to understand that's where you got to draw the line. So I'm glad that you touched on the vice part of it. Now, what were you going to say, Peter? Because I wanted to switch gears to the more technical side of it, but I wanted you to answer the question, or the thought that you had.
Now, I was going to say I had a friend of mine when I told him what the movie is about. and what it was going to be about. And he asked me, you're not going to be embarrassed about that? At the time, I could have been, but I did not flinch. I said, nah, if this could help somebody, then that's what God assigned me to do. Okay. It ain't going, it's not going to affect some people, but it's going to affect a whole lot of other people. Okay. It's going to impact their lives. And like Pam said, and I just felt like I said, if I do this, I remember, I just felt like God was telling me, do that. I got you. Okay. Go ahead and make this film. All right. Because like Pam said earlier, you're going to be blessed beyond
Mm-hmm.
measures. Okay. We did it. We showed it. We got it on Amazon Prime the same week. We got the opportunity to film a project, which became a documentary about this gentleman from Hamlin, North Carolina, getting approval from the government to sell electric vehicles to Cuba. All right. That's a
Okay.
big thing. At the time, it went over my head because we were so happy about our film being streamed. Okay. This is last year.
Exactly. That's got to be massive,
Yes.
regardless.
Yes.
I
Because
agree.
we didn't seek this out. God gave this to us. Why? Because I was obedient. All right. With making that film. Okay. I put myself out there. I'm fine. That's my story. I overcame it. All right. And it's already been helping people. I've been having people DM me left and right throughout the past couple of years, thanking me, thanking the both of us. All right, about this because they thanking my wife for supporting me. Okay,
That's what I
on
was gonna
this.
say. That's huge. That's
Yes,
huge to have a
it's
mate
major. It's
massively,
major. Okay,
massive.
you
Because
know,
a lot of women will walk
yes,
away.
I prayed for this lady, and I'm doing all this, with the blessing. What am I doing? So I had to write that. I had to work that out within myself. Okay. So a lot of God was my therapy, and with my wife with my support, and that's where we at now.
I wanted to get into the technical questions, but I have one more question because you just made me think about another question. And this is kind of geared towards Pam and you too, but predominantly the woman in the situation or the wife in the situation. But Pam, so when we talk about, and Peter, you can definitely chime in too, but when we talk about a relationship, right? And whether it's a marriage or a long-term relationship, when they say, man, porn, that's not nothing to break up with nobody about. Just like if somebody cheats on you one time or twice because they forgave you. What do you say to someone in that situation where they say they look at that movie and they say, porn? Man, this dude done cheated on me. I don't know how many times, and I'm gonna leave him for porn. I'd rather he watch porn than cheat on me. Just like you said, you'd rather he be watching that than cheating on you. But what do you say to the woman that kind of scoffs at that movie?
And that's a very good question. And J. Marie, that was something that Peter and I did not even think about, because what it was for him and for us was the personal relationship that he has with God. And it was at God has had something else for him to do besides sit up there and be miserable and really just go into this sunken place because he know he's not being the best version of himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, porn is not the worst thing in the world, right? You're at home, you're not hurting anybody, but you're hurting yourself, because he was going into a sunken place, because it was just I'm like a robot, almost just doing this, searching, getting frustrated because I can't find the one I'm looking for, and just sneaking and being in a dark space. If you're sneaking behind your wife's back, you're in a dark space. You know what I'm saying? If she's okay with it and y'all both are there, but evidently we weren't on the same place. We weren't in the same place, because my conscience was clear. My spirit was free. Peter's was not. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
it was like, it's really about you and that personal relationship you have with your maker, and God was poking at him like, you're better than this. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? When he has his hand on you, I don't know it, because I do pray for my husband, but whatever it was to precipitate that, maybe when I was in church and he was staying home to get on the computer, God heard my prayers and started poking at him. You're better than this. You know what I'm saying? I got more for you. So that's what I would say. Again, everybody is in a different place with their relationships, and we can only speak from our own experiences. And that's why, when I first read the script, J. Marie, I was embarrassed at the fact that he was going to tell that story. I'm like, what? You are not going to tell our personal, put it out there.
Okay.
I am a school teacher. I cannot be behind something like this, but then God had to sit me down and said, this is not about you. This is about
Right.
my child named Peter, my son, that I have a relationship, and God sat me down, and I, had to give in to that and just let him do what God had placed in his heart. And like I said, as a result, we are just seeing God just giving us so many opportunities and just showing out on our behalf. So, yeah. So a lot of times when we just get ourselves out the way and let God lead, we're gonna be okay. Yeah, get out of
That's
our
not
own way.
that part is not necessarily religious based. I want to say
That's
that,
exactly right.
but I'm very God centered. I'm not about to act like I'm not God centered, so I'm
Yes.
not going to act that way. But what I do want to ask is, oh my goodness, you made me think of okay. So when you said getting out of our own way, and when you talked about, I'm appreciative that you actually said that. At first you were like, oh heck no, you ain't gonna do me like that. You gonna have our business in the streets and have them da 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 da, because that's a real life emotion. Like, what? I don't want,
I
there's so
mean,
many skeletons you could have in your closet, let me tell you.
exactly. And
And
it was me protecting myself too. Like, then, people are gonna think, oh, you're not pleasing your husband if he likes porn better than you, and and this is what y'all are going through. Everybody know y'all so happy and in love, but this is what y'all did. But again, it was all about me, and God will sit you down and put you in a place and shut your mouth and let him do what he has to do. So I became just as comfortable with it. But let me tell you, J. Marie, I'm gonna say this. When I was reading the script and he described himself with his pants around his ankles, I was like, no, we
I
got
know.
children. Our children know, sir, we're not doing this. I'm not going to support this in any shape, form, or fashion. If you're telling me that's what the main character is going to look like on the screen, are you crazy? I'm from North Carolina, a small country town, and no, no, no. But
When the movie
again,
started out, I was like, and I'm not, I have 3 children, okay? Let me just say that. 3 children. Okay. Uh, and I was married before, but I'm not a stranger to understanding none of that. But to see, I was like, oh, what is this? Like, why would they start a movie? So when I continued to watch it, I was like, oh, that's what the title means, because I thought it was like urge versus purge, like sort of like, I was like, okay, it's some kind of, but then when I read the log line, and I'm a screenwriter, by the way, new to it, by the way, but when I read the log line, I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense now. So I got into it because originally one of my podcasters that I collaborate with on another podcast, he told me about you. He goes by E Black. I cannot
E
think of
Black.
his.
Yes. E
Yes.
Black. Mhm. Mhm.
I forgot what his real name is now, but yes, he told me about you, and I was like, "Wait, what? What is this about?" He's like, "Go look for it." And when I went to look for it, I was like, clicked on it, watched it a little bit, and when it started out that way, I was like, "E, what is this? What is this?" He was like, "Just watch it." I'm telling you, I didn't know. I didn't think it like I didn't know what to tell people it is. I was like, this is so original and so authentic, and that's what made it be like something to watch versus like typical. I don't want to knock anybody's style of movie, but it was not a typical movie to see in this light. So I was just like, wow, this is truly one of those movies that I don't want to say you can come back to it, but it's a movie you can rewatch because it's so much. And I rewatched it to be able to talk about some of the scenes and different things like that. And Pam, to your point, when you said, you know, or actually, Peter, to your point, when you said you didn't want her to catch you, so the movie goes into him being caught and things like that. It didn't come to that point with you in real life. It came to you just bringing it to her like, yo, this is what it is. This is, read this, and she was like, wait.
Hmm.
So it didn't come to that point for you.
Nah, nah.
Okay, okay.
Eh,
So speaking to the technical side of it now, because I know we edging towards an hour, but this is so good. Okay, so speaking for the technical side of it, Pam, to your point, real quick, you're a writer or a school. What is your background? One more time, school teacher.
So my story is, and I don't want to take up all your time, is that I actually wanted to write and, get into writing, but I come from a very small town in North Carolina. Farms. I grew up with chickens and cows and all that. Tobacco. We raised tobacco, and I knew I wanted to write. I always wrote good stories, but I didn't know in what capacity I would want to write. I didn't want to be an author, but I
Mm-hmm.
just knew that I loved writing. So long story short, I majored in English, and I wanted to do something I thought with journalism. So I was like, maybe I'll be a journalist. But as it
Wow.
turned out, my writing would come through my husband. So once I told my college advisor that I wanted to do something with writing, maybe be a journalist or a news reporter, that person doesn't see your gift. They're not in the room with you when God is developing you and creating you, and said, this person said, you're not going to be able to do that. You're too country. Your accent is too country.
Hmm.
But because I always have to tell you that, you are created for a specific purpose. Through my husband, I am a journalist. I traveled to Cuba as a journalist with this documentary. I did write the script for our documentary. So I just had to let you know that dream, that passion that God put in you is there for a reason. And it may have taken 30 something years after I spoke those words to my college professor at UNCC. I'm doing just that. So I always wanted to write. But when again I was dissuaded to, and this is the person
Hmm.
that's your superior and telling you you won't be successful there, you could be a teacher. Then I said I'll be a teacher, but I'm going to be an English teacher because I love everything that deals with writing. So I just had to let you know that, I am so thankful that it was through my husband that those opportunities came. And that's why I am so always on board to bless him and support him, because our gifts and talents are the same, like they're right in line with each other. So when he first wrote his book and asked me to be an editor, he was like, oh my God, you did a great job. I got my editor from here on out. And I love the process. We bumped heads, but it was great. And then after that, a couple of other authors also asked me to edit their books. So yeah, so
mhm.
and
Okay. So
mhm,
editor in a sense of not video editor, but book editor.
script editor,
Okay, script
exactly.
editor. Okay,
Mhm,
okay,
mhm.
okay. I was trying to understand if it was like editor of the movie versus editor.
No,
Okay,
it's
separate.
editing the actual script.
Okay,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to switch to Peter. I'm trying to remember my questions because y'all are just giving me so many thoughts. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, okay. So my question to you is, oh my goodness. Did I even write anything on this at all? In terms of you all writing, or you writing the script itself, Peter,
Yes.
um, where did you decide that you wanted to, okay, you wanted to take this, mm, I'm losing track of what I was going to say. Okay, Pam, you said
About
something
the
that
technical side of
the
writing.
technical side of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to take it to the, let's see, you wanted to take it to a story that talked about your life and things like that. And then okay, there we go. Thank you, Pam. Because now for some reason it fell out. Okay, so you wanted to take it to a story that you told your life about, and or told us about your life through this story,
Mhm.
this particular instance of your life. Now, when you say you're not a writer, or you didn't start off wanting to be a writer, is that right?
Or me?
Yes,
Oh
you.
man, whew. When did I?
Like, how did you
You know,
fall in?
it was in '97 when I started writing the screenplay version of Postal. All right, and of course I prayed for my wife. She came along, so I was on that screenplay for years, like 6 years, and then I converted it into a book afterwards. And in between that, during that time, I was already outlining Urge. Okay, it was titled something else, but I wound up outlining Urge. So I was already love. I had a passion for writing and reading. Okay, I love
Okay.
books. Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Terry McMillan. I also love film. I'm a big Spike Lee fan. Okay, Malcolm Lee, John Singleton, all of them. Okay, Robert Townsend, and yeah, that's where I get my joy. Just crafting. I didn't go to school for it. I just kind of kind of self taught myself. And I was just share one thing. You know how I could get on my wife's nerves by watching the same movie over and over and over and over and over again. Why? Because
It's so nice.
I'm listening to the dialogue
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Okay, what is said, what is not said. Okay, and how they go about saying certain things, the language. Okay, all of that. How colorful they are when they pull back. I'm digesting this all. Okay, and when it came to doing that feature, you know, I did a short film of Postal, but this was my first feature, Urge, and I knew exactly how I wanted to lay out, and I knew exactly how I wanted to open it up, and I wanted to open it up just like what you described, with his pants around his ankles. I wanted to slap people right in the face
And
with
you
this
did.
movie. Okay, I wanted everybody to know exactly what this movie was going to be about. All right, and I wanted them to, and wanted to hold their interest from that point on, and do it tastefully. That's alluding to what
Mm-hmm.
you said earlier when we opened up. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what one of our actors, when we was being interviewed as an entire cast a couple of years ago, they was admiring how tasteful it was, and I wanted to do it just like that. Okay, because this was a sensitive topic to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want it to be vulgar. I didn't want it to be nasty. I wanted you to see the man and the wife talk about this. Okay. All right. Through her frustrations. I don't want to give away the movie and
Mm-hmm.
what happened to him, which led to his turning point. All right. So yeah. I
So
hope I
when
answered your question.
you did, and
Okay.
on edit, I'm like, y'all, I missed a bunch of questions I was gonna ask, but not because you took it off course, just because there were so many more questions coming to me that I just didn't have time to ask. But there is a question that I want to ask on the technical side.
Mhm.
Me being a screenwriter, um, and I just got into this, so okay, I don't know all the terminologies and things like that. But when you say screenplay versus a feature film, what makes the two different?
I don't think there's a difference. You write a screenplay, Okay, and that screenplay is either going to depends on how the length of it. Okay, because between 90 pages to 120 pages, that's considered a screenplay. All right, just a full feature. That's what I
A
mean. Yeah,
feature.
feature
90
film.
pages. Okay.
Yes, between 90 and 120 pages is considered a feature. All right. Right now, we got a miniseries screenplay just waiting on the wings to be developed and be the prequel to Urge. Okay. So getting back to your question, it's no difference. A screenplay, if it's between 90 to 120 pages, is considered a feature film length feature film. Yeah.
Okay. Are you all looking? Okay, two questions. Are you all looking to work with other writers or take on other projects, or how are you all looking to expand a brighter path
Hmm.
productions? Okay.
Yes, the Brighter Path Productions. Right now, we in the final stages of post production of Driving Towards Change, which is our
Okay.
documentary. All right. Once the color grading is done and we put the closed captions, subtitles on it, then we go to search for a streaming platform to put it on. So that's towards the end. So we're pretty much done with that. But woo, this is what God's going to give us. You know what I'm saying? It may be another documentary, okay, pertaining to Cuba. It may, because I'm still, and also still waiting to deal with Postal, okay, because we really want to go back and
I was about to say, I really want to see that. I really want to see that, but I
oh my
can't,
goodness,
you know,
yes, right.
I can't really say, put this out. I have no control over that, but I feel like it does need to be talked about.
And it's going to because you're going to see how the characters got together
Mm-hmm.
in the first place, especially James and Kadena, how it all started in the post office. You're going to learn about Valor Patterns, who is the deceased lady they went to see
Yeah,
at the
that we kind of
cemetery,
just hear about.
who
We don't
is the
know who.
who is the central part of Postal. Okay, and then you will hear, then you get to know all the other characters. Okay, Freeman Souls. Okay, Lavelle, all of them. Okay, through Postal, which is a mini series, and we look for God is going to bless us with the funding to get that done. That's all I'm gonna say, and we're excited about that.
Okay. Where can we find you all to wrap things up? Where can we find you all on social media or websites and things like that so people know how to, if they want to support, if they want to follow, subscribe, or anything like that? Is there a website or anything that they can go to and find you?
Yes, our website is www.abrighterpathproductions.com.
Okay.
www.abrighterpathproductions.com. And my social media handle on Facebook, I'm Peter McNeil. On Instagram, at Peter McNeil 44.
Okay. And
Yeah.
is that's where you want people to follow you for your professional pages and things like that?
Yeah, pretty much. And TikTok, I'm on there too at Peter McNeil 44. So those three platforms, yeah.
Okay. And Pam, I'm gonna put you in the spotlight in case you have anything different to add.
No, I'm COO of a Brighter Path Productions. So,
Okay.
yeah, you can find me at a Brighter Path Productions.
Okay.
And what about your
And
social handles, Boo?
Not necessarily business. Those are my
okay.
just
What I
social.
was gonna say. That's what I was
So
gonna say.
I
I don't
I
want to throw
need
no. Yeah, keep the anonymity where it needs to be. I understand that.
I got
Okay,
one more. I got one more handle, which is linked. People can find me on linked as well. Peter McNeil
link
on linked. Yes.
Li. What is the? I'm not familiar with link. Not LinkedIn, right?
it's
It's
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn. Yes,
Oh,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
okay. I was like linked. What is linked? Is that a new
My
social?
apologies. I always pronounce it wrong. LinkedIn. Peter McNeil.
LinkedIn.
Yes, on
Okay.
LinkedIn.
And
Mhm.
is the Brighter Path Projections on there as well as the company LinkedIn?
Yeah,
It
yes.
is.
With
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Um,
Hmm.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Peter McNeil and Pam McNeil for joining us and talking about the movie Urge. You all definitely go check it out. It is on
It's on
uh
Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi. It's on Afroland TV. Those are the major ones so far. Is there anyone else? Any? No,
I
Those
was
are
no.
the
thinking
major
Peacock for
ones.
Yeah,
some
those are the
reason.
major
Okay,
ones so
I
far.
was ready
Yeah.
to rattle off some other ones. Okay.
Mhm.
So definitely be sure to check the movie out. You guys are gonna love it. It's definitely a movie to go see. Definitely a movie to see. Uh, prepare yourself for it though, because it is gonna be a sensitive subject matter, but it's definitely gonna be something that's gonna be tasteful and something that you can definitely learn from. So I'm Jay Marie, host of That Part Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me get the screen minimized here